What's going on, college football fans? Welcome to the first and long college football show. I am your co-host, Marcus. That guy on this side over here, that's your other co-host, Mason. Mason, how you doing today, buddy?
Man, I am doing excellent. I am pumped up. We had a fun week 2, we had a fun week 3. We're heading into week 4 now, and it is shaping up to be a dandy. So I'm really excited to get into this. I'm ready to feel these games. I want to sit in it and I want to feel it, and I really want to feel this breakdown right now. I want to sit in it and I want to feel it. So you know what? I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it, man. I'm going raw dog. We don't need no protection. I want to feel it.
Let it run over your body. Just soak it in, man, because it's here. We finally have got what seems to me it's not like the preseason games. Like the secondary slate of games that we're not even going to talk about this week are really good too. But we don't have time to go over every single little game because there's headliners, bangers going on. We got Florida State at Clemson. We've got Colorado at Oregon. We've got UCLA at Utah, Ole Miss at Alabama, Oregon State at Washington State, Ohio State at Notre Dame, and Iowa at Penn State. Oh, and don't forget, we're going to throw a sprinkle on the top of this thing, Auburn at Texas A&M. And what we've got for you today is our Week 4 preview and predictions. We're going to go through these games and break it down and give you our thoughts on the games and our bets against the spread. And at the end of this show, we're going to have our Between the Lines segment, and we'll tell you maybe if we didn't hit a game that we feel really good about the line, we'll let you know the scoop on that as well. So without further ado, subscribe to the video, please. If you're watching this, 75% of the people that watch this video, they don't ever subscribe, or they haven't yet, should I say, because you never say never. And maybe if I grovel and I beg, and maybe I'll be able to coach you into it. So this is me nudging you in the elbow, and just hit the thumbs up, okay? And hit the subscribe, and let's talk some college football. And if you would like to come on the show, if you dare, then there's a link in the description, and you'll go into the back room, and I'll see you in there. And when we get a minute, we'll bring you in and see what you want to talk about for a couple minutes. And we sure do appreciate everybody tuning in, and that has tuned in over the last few weeks, where the channel is very much growing, and you're a part of that. So thank you. Mason, let's dive into it. What do you say, brother?
Let's do it, man.
Let me get a sip of my secret beverage because they're not a sponsor, and I can't be giving freebies out there. Let's go into the Florida State at Clemson. They could be a sponsor. They could be. They're just not yet. Just kind of like the subscribers, not subscribed yet, but will be eventually. Florida State at Clemson. Well. This is a game that, early in the year, I feel like Clemson fans probably felt pretty good about, their chances, at least 50-50. At this point, I don't feel like Clemson fans are feeling near as good after taking let's just be real about it, an ass whooping from Duke on the road. 28-7, they lost that game, and somebody called it. I can't remember who did. Maybe that was me. I don't know. I can't remember. But this Clemson rushing attack is pretty daggum good, though, man. They're 216.7 yards a game. That gets you 16th best in the country right now. And they're about 50% on third down. So really, I think what it's going to boil down to on this game is Florida State being able to stop the run. Okay. And I'm not completely sold that they can do that. I mean, we saw them really, really struggle last week with Boston College. So, excuse me, I think that's where the 2-point line comes from on this game. Florida State's only a 2-point favorite and is top 5 in the country in every single poll you can look at on the internet. And Clemson's unranked. So I think that's kind of where the hang-up is in this game. And not to mention there's a historical bugaboo that has gone on with Florida State beating Clemson. But with all that being said, I really look for the Florida State offense to take advantage of the Clemson secondary in this game. And there's not much on paper that's going to show you that Clemson has a bad pass defense. They're 10th best in the nation. They got four interceptions, but and I think they've only given up 1 or 2 touchdown passes. But I think that's about to change in this game. They haven't played a dynamic passing attack like this yet, and I do believe that Florida State is going to be able to cover this too. And so I'm taking Florida State -2. What you got on this one, man?
Man, this is a really big time matchup. It could decide the ACC at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
kind of like what you mentioned, it seems like, and if you would have told me this preseason or now, knowing what we know now, Clemson has a better defense. Okay, surprise, surprise. Metrics wise, I mean, their rushing defense is 37th in the country. Passing defense is 10th in the country. And whenever I went through and did these stats, I looked at for rushing, offense, and defense. I looked at yards per attempt. Some teams just don't really attempt to run the ball very much. So to me, it was more important to show the efficiency of the rush. So
yeah, the effectiveness.
Anyways, yeah. So Clemson's been able to stop teams pretty well, right around three yards. And it looks like Florida State's about 72nd and in rushing defense, but they're 18th in rushing offense. So they run the ball a little bit. Well, they're about the same, I guess, rushing wise, and then passing, on their passing offense, they're about the same. So offensively, they're about the same, other than when it comes to scoring, and actually, surprisingly, Clemson's a little bit more efficient on third down. So when I look at this game, I say, okay, they have a similar offense. Clemson's defense has the slight edge. They haven't been able to score as much, but maybe they get a break now. They're both +1 in the turnover margins. Florida State has actually benefited a ton. If you look at the bottom right of your screen here, opponent penalties, 83.7 yards per game that the opponent has given up just in penalties. That's not a stat you see very often, but it tells me a lot. I can draw a lot from that because it tells me how lucky this team gets in some ways, right? So in comparison, Clemson is 12th in penalties allowed. They're only giving up 30 yards per game in penalties. So, that's a very micro stat. It's not a huge deal, but it does kind of tell me a little bit. I'm already leaning towards Clemson, so it does kind of help me in that territory. So Clemson's allowed 6 sacks, Clemson has allowed 3 sacks. And Florida State's allowed 8. So if they're averaging 1 per game, maybe they give up 2 this game. Nothing too crazy. This I actually put Clemson at +2.5. I bet on that. It's kind of going the other direction now. A lot of that money was coming in on Florida State. I think it's starting to regress back to the median there a little bit. But I'm gonna go. I'm gonna fight you on this one. I'm gonna go Clemson at +2. I'd get it at 2.5, but I don't think I'll need it. I think Clemson's going to win this one. And I think that they're due. I think they're figuring some things out offensively. I think that and defensively too. I mean, they weren't the greatest defense, that first week against Duke. So, but I really feel like Florida State has benefited from poor play from the other teams. LSU wasn't their best in week 1, right? We see what LSU is now. And I feel like already, 3 weeks removed from week 1, if Florida State and LSU were to play again, it'd be a different story. So now Clemson's not LSU either, but I feel pretty confident that Clemson, with their backs against the wall, will come out with a fight, and they're going to end up beating Florida State this week. And we'll have to see. Hopefully we can get a rematch of this game later in the year for the championship game. And we'll have to see how that one goes. But for now, again, I'm going with Clemson to win this one. So you can go ahead and mark that down as my best bet.
Well, I don't dislike the pick. Anytime there's a 2 or a 3 point, margin on something, that's a pick 'em. I mean, it's close to a pick 'em. My thing is here, and this is kind of my final thoughts, and we can move on here. But for a while now, Clemson has not had a wide receiver that scares anybody. I mean, and for
Yeah.
a Florida State defense that doesn't rank super well defensively, although the Boston College thing last week, I mean, maybe you could say that's a fluke. I don't know. I mean, Clemson's been Florida State's been very inconsistent the last couple years. That's how they do. They have an amazing game, like they are really like in the second half against LSU, and then they have a game like they did against Boston College. So. I feel like Florida State's ready to take a step forward. They may, um, you know, they may spurn my advances towards them this weekend. We'll see. I hear a lot of people that like Clemson in this game, and I'm sticking with my gut. I'm not changing what I thought about either one of these teams quite yet, and I think Clemson is still soul searching. I think they're soul searching a bit. But Florida State surely did not look good last week. So hey, you never know. So we got a little fight right there, man. We'll and what time does that one come on? That's a 12:05 game, isn't it?
I believe so. I got the schedule pulled up.
Yeah, it is. I remember now because I remember thinking we'll be together for the 3:30 and the 7 o'clock and 7:30 games and stuff. We won't be together for that one.
Yep.
All right. Let's move on to the next one. Let's talk about some Deion Sanders in Colorado, baby. Let's talk about the Buffs. Look, this is a big line this week, man. 21 points is a big line in a conference game in general. I mean, Georgia was favored last week by 28 over South Carolina. They didn't cover. I don't know. I don't know that Oregon's as good as Georgia or as well rounded. I feel like Colorado could probably beat South Carolina. I don't know. I'm just comparing. Colorado has one of the best quarterbacks in college football right now. And I know some people haven't came to grips with this yet, but Shedeur Sanders is very, very, very good. Okay. The way, and some people took out of context. We had put out a short video the other day, and I said that he looked like a black Tom Brady, and people lost their mind. They said, well, hey, he's not Tom Brady. He hadn't won anything. And you're right. But that was completely out of context. That last drive of that Colorado State game, I'm still thinking about it. The way he controlled everything. Travis Hunter's out of the game, by the way, at this point. Okay. Best player on the team's off the field at the hospital at this point. You come all the way back, 98 yards you got to go. And the man just boom, getting out of bounds, running enough clock, then goes down and hits the 2-point conversion after the touchdown. That was a masterpiece, man. That was a masterpiece. I heard somebody jokingly say that Coach Prime made the game that interesting because Shedeur needed a Heisman moment, and that's absolutely ludicrous. But it's funny that somebody would even think that because that Deion would have that much control. Like Deion's like a college football god, just working these players like little puppets on his fingers.
Since you're on the topic of Deion here, real quick, you mentioned, calling Shedeur Black Tom Brady. Is Deion Black Ted Lasso? Like, he's stepping in here and just lighting the world on fire. I mean, it took a while for old Lasso to get going, but I don't know. I thought that comparison was kind of funny.
That is funny. I don't know that we've ever seen anything like what's going on in Colorado right now. Deion has got the place pumped full of energy, but it's time to take the traveling circus on the road, brother. And this Oregon team ain't no joke.
No.
And we've talked about it on previous shows. You can go back and watch. I think it was week 1 or week 2 reaction. I talked about. I mean, Oregon literally ripped the ears right off of a Portland State offensive player. I mean, literally ripped his ear right off. Okay, this is a mean team right here. They ain't taking no prisoners, and they're not about to come out here and take it easy on Colorado. They want to kick their ass. I can promise you that. And just like I said before the year started, is Dion going to put these guys in a situation where they're a target? You know, and well, Travis Hunter, he ruptured his, what was it? He split his liver or something, is what I heard.
Spleen and I heard liver. I'm pretty sure it was his liver, but
is it spleen or liver? I don't know.
It's an organ, whatever. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm not planning on starting any kind of medical channels on YouTube or anything. So I'm not going to worry about which one it is. I just know he's going to be out 3 weeks. And I know that hit was an assault. That was a absolutely horrid situation right there. But you know what? That is kind of football though, man. And it's dirty, and I get it, but to play football is to get hit with a dirty hit. I mean, let's just be real. But I really hate it for the guy, because Travis Hunter's not the biggest dude in the world. But
no.
Anyway, I really, really do not like this Colorado rushing offense, and I really hate their rushing defense, man. It's horrid. It's absolutely horrid. And you know, the transfer portal is good for some things and plugging some holes, but this is why we say that it's not built for building a roster. Or, you know, it's not made to build a roster with. And you know, points against, rushing yards allowed, passing yards against, all of it's like around 100 ranked, 90, 100th, 80th. It's all over the place. The only thing that this team is prolific in is the passing offense, and that's linked to Shedeur. And I've always said that one thing that the Georgia Bulldogs, I keep putting up the wrong hand. These Georgia Bulldogs right here, the 2-time defending reigning national champions, if they can make you one-dimensional, then they can beat you. And Oregon is actually able to make Colorado one-dimensional.
Yeah.
And I'm worried about this, especially without having Travis Hunter. Look, I'm here for it. I do have some money on this game, and I bet on Oregon -21. Okay. And when I bet, I don't bet the house. Okay. I'm a moderate bettor, but I do like betting a little bit on the games because it makes me interested in the outcome. So you bet however you want to, YouTube public, but my money is on Oregon here, -21. What are your thoughts on this game, and how do you see it going, Mason?
Yeah, if you'll throw those stats up for me.
Yeah.
You know, you really hit a lot of the same points that I was going to touch on. You know, you mentioned having no rushing defense, no rushing offense, no passing defense, really, especially without Travis Hunter. Cormani McClain, you know, Dion said this week, is keeping himself off the field. You know, so it sounds like he's getting in his own way there, which sometimes happens with these high profile.
I didn't hear about
athletes.
this. What happened here? I didn't hear about that.
It was just in one of his press conferences, real quick. One of the reporters asked about Cormani McClain. You know, this highly touted 5-star freshman. You know, who's supposed to be playing opposite of Travis Hunter at cornerback. He hasn't shown up yet, and I've been wondering the same thing. You know, is he hurt? What's going on? And you know, Dion didn't want to allude too much to it, but he said, you know, yeah, he's kind of getting in his own way right now. You know, so it sounds like, I don't know if it's behavioral or if he's maybe not working hard enough. I don't know what exactly is going on there, but we're expecting at some point for this passing defense to get a lot better. And excuse my dog in the background. Sounds like we just got a package, but
what's up, Ozzy?
Yeah. So anyway, but like you mentioned, the passing offense is a bright spot. They're second in college football at 418 yards per game. And can you win 6 games with being that one-dimensional? Yeah, you can, for sure. They might even win 7 or 8. Who knows? But But to beat a complete team like Oregon, I don't see it happening. Another thing that I look at here is opponent penalties. 100 yards per game. That's the most in the nation, right? So other teams giving them a touchdown pretty much in penalties, right? That's not good. That is not good. So, and then outside of that, their penalties are 111th, 67.3 yards per game. Maybe they regress a little bit back to the average there. So maybe that helps them in this game. And their turnover margin is +6, and that's with Travis Hunter, who I think has 3 on the season, if I'm not mistaken. So no Travis Hunter this game. He's been bailing them out. Shiloh too. Shiloh will still be there, but you're missing a large part of that. So, and then sacks allowed 16. You go over here to Oregon. They've had 6 sacks already, which is pretty good for now. Only a 3-game sample size at this point, but they should be able to rush the passer pretty well. I think they should be able to get after him. And then you go through and you see, okay, their total scoring offense is second. Their rushing offense is second. Pass offense is 5th. So top 5 in all offensive categories. That is the recipe for disaster when your defense is really as bad as Colorado's is. And then you look at their pass defense is really good at 16th. Rushing defense hasn't been great, but again, we already saw that Colorado's not going to be able to take advantage of that, right? Because their rushing offense hasn't been great. Scoring defense, 15.7 points per game. I do think that Colorado finds a way to score more than that. So I could see them at 17 or 20 points probably. But this is going to be a tough defense to score on when you're one-dimensional, like you mentioned. And then outside of that, pretty efficient on third down. Pretty efficient on third down defense, on opponent third down conversion. So ultimately, I think, you mentioned, what's this number at, 21? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So at 21 points, that's a solid 3 touchdowns. I like that it's not 21.5. I'm really happy. It's a nice even number.
It's crazy. It has stayed at 21 too. It hasn't moved a muscle all week.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of money still coming in for Colorado. Maybe even some people who are willing to bet the money line. And if you are, hey, it's a big number, 760, I think, in some under some sites. But anyways, I'm going with you +21. Give me the Oregon Ducks to cover.
We agree on that one. So, I just, my football mind, I would love for Colorado to win this game. Look, I'll lose my bet and I'll be entertained. Okay. And I won't mind. I won't mind a bit. But my football brain won't let me believe that Colorado can pull this one out. They don't have the Jimmies and the Joes to do this. They don't have the Jimmies and the Joes to make this assignment. Would I love to see it? Absolutely, I would love to see it, folks. I'd love to see something like that, but it's just, and if it happens, I'll be watching, I'll be cheering, and I'll be drinking my beer, and I'll be on here shouting the victories of Colorado and Deion Sanders and Shedeur. And I'm going to keep beating the Shedeur drum no matter what anybody says. Is that the order we're supposed to go in, Mason? Ole Miss at Bama.
Yes, sir.
All right. Actually, it's not. UCLA, Utah. Let's go to UCLA, Utah.
Fire it up again.
Load the cannon back up. UCLA at Utah, 4.5. Utah is favored in this game. I do in fact have a play on this game. Look, UCLA has got a really good offense, and people, Dante Moore is a freshman quarterback, so I'm waiting for like a freshman game from this guy, and I don't know when it's coming, but he overtook Ethan Garbers pretty quick. And Dante Moore is a dynamic freshman quarterback with a live arm and some quick feet. The man can move. He presents some issues for sure. but he's going up against a Utah defense that is really good against pretty much everything. They're just a solid defensive group. Now, have they played a good offense? I don't know. They got Florida in week 1. I know Florida beat Tennessee this past weekend, and that was a great win for Sunbelt Billy. But I don't. It doesn't change my opinion of Florida. I'm going to need to see it. I'm going to need to see it a little bit more. Florida's a team with a one arm tied behind their back playing offense. It seems like to me. I don't know what test Utah's really been through, but it ain't going to be. They hadn't faced a team that's as good on offense as UCLA. There's very little doubt in my mind about that. And defensively, believe it or not, UCLA can get after the quarterback. They've got 11 sacks so far this year. So, and I think that's an updated number. It should be updated.
It is.
I noticed a couple of our numbers were a little bit different, but you can put these stats under different filters and stuff. And they're 11th best against the rush as far as yards per game, averaging giving up 69 yards per game. So I like Utah in this game, man. I like UCLA in this game. They're one of my best bets of the week. I think this Utah team is fraudulent. And one thing, though, that I did not check on, we're supposed to know today if Cam Rising is going to play or if it's going to be Nate Johnson. Have you heard anything about that today?
I'll look it up if you want to keep looking or keep.
Well, we don't know what we're getting out of Cam Rising. We have no idea. The guy blew his knee out last year. He struggled to come back. Obviously, the offense is going to be better commanded with him in there, but is he going to be able to take off running? This team has become very dependent on the quarterback taking off and running. When Barnes was at quarterback, it was they tried the sit back and in the pocket type of offense, and it didn't work. Barnes got tore up. It was not good. He got pulled. And Nate Johnson, what has kept this offense alive has been his legs. And I really like UCLA to pull the upset here. But I'm going to take the 4.5 points anyway. I'm not going to take them on the money line. But I like UCLA in this one. And I've been high on UCLA all year. You're welcome, Bruins. I love what you're doing. I'm picking up what you're putting down. There's no doubt about that. And what'd you get on that?
Right. Yeah. So I know you have been really high on UCLA this year, and right from their stats here, and by the way, I was able to find with Cam Rising, at least based on Brett McMurphy's report, it looks like Cam Rising is going to start. So take that with a grain of salt, but
yeah,
somebody at least thinks that he's going to start. So, but he has not played all year. This is his debut. He's coming off of an ACL tear. It makes it tough, honestly, because I don't know what to expect from this offense. But what I do know to expect is Utah's defense. It's going to be really good and really stingy, giving up only 10.3 points per game. That's good for 9th in the country. And then, the rushing defense, 2.83 yards per attempt. That kind of goes against what UCLA wants to do, right? They want to rush the ball. They want to run the ball, give Dante Moore a little bit of a breather and take some of that pressure off of him. But if they need to go deep, they're going to have to. The passing defense, 61st in the country, giving up 205.7 yards per game. If they're going to win this game, if UCLA is going to win this game, they got to go vertical, right? So there's going to be a lot of pressure on Dante Moore. And as a true freshman, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to handle that. They've been really efficient, second in the country on third down. The defense is for Utah, only 20% conversion on third down, only allowed 4 sacks. Let's see. So the issue for me, though, on betting this game is this offense. All these offensive metrics can be thrown out the window because if Cam Rising starts, we don't know what to expect. We don't know what's going to happen. This offense is going to look totally different. So this one it's a bit of a stay away game for me. Look, metric wise, you can see on your screen, the offense looks much better. The rushing offense, 7.44 yards per attempt for UCLA, best in the country. That's amazing. And rushing defense is 8th in the country. So, this is going to be a game where I think the best quarterback wins. I think the team who has the best day passing wins. And I'm not confident in picking this. I'm really not as far as for a best bet. Now, the spread's 4.5 points, right? Favored towards Utah. If you're asking me to pick against the spread, I'm going to go with UCLA to cover, but I think it is a 2 or 3 point game. And I honestly lean Utah winning this game with Cam Rising. I think that this is going to be a good learning experience for Dante Moore. But this is a stay away game, just given all the uncertainties. And in a freshman quarterback and Cam Rising, coming off of his ACL tear. I'm really not confident in picking this as a best bet. But give me UCLA to cover, Utah to win.
My thing is, even with Cam Rising coming back, there's a 0% chance in my mind that they blow UCLA out. It doesn't matter, in my opinion. I don't think Utah has the ability to blow anybody out. I think they got a good defense, and I think that's what they're going to continue to lean on. And I think Whittingham is more than happy to win this game by 3. More than happy. The margin of victory matters not to the Utah Utes in this situation, and I think that it could be a 3-point victory for them. I think that's really, really likely statistically. So I hear you. I definitely get it, but I'm not betting on somebody to come back that's been saying they're coming back, and then obviously it hasn't been. He wasn't ready, so he obviously just recently got healed, and feels good enough to play. I think you're actually crippling yourself by going to Cam Rising instead of Nate Johnson in this one, personally. But we'll see. We will see. I can't wait to watch that one. Cannot wait. Let's go ahead and go to. Oh, I did go out of order, didn't I, Mason? Oh well. Ole Miss at Alabama. Everybody wants to kick the Bama man when they're down, and I'm gonna lift the Bama man up. I'm gonna lift him up, and I'm not gonna take this as a best bet. I don't think, unless I got crazy and wrote it down. No, I didn't, because I'm not crazy. I'm staying away from this one. I feel like I don't know. First of all, what's Lane Kiffin's biggest win ever? Do you know, Mason?
Lane Kiffin's biggest win.
He doesn't have one. That's kind of the problem.
I mean, it
might have been Tulane.
Yeah, it'd probably be like a Texas A&M, and then we realized Texas A&M is not good.
Horrible.
Something like that. But I remember him having an iconic win. It may have been a bowl game win or something like that. I think it was.
He did beat it was a decent bowl game victory. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a non-conference opponent in a bowl game.
But that was with Matt Corral,
Right. Well, my point is, every year everybody says, well, this is Lane Kiffin's year to beat Nick Saban. This is his year. Dude hasn't won a big game yet at Ole Miss. And I'm not buying it. That they're going to go to T-Town and take care of business here. Look, this is a below average Alabama offense at this point, but Ole Miss is a below average defense. And the last couple of weeks, Ole Miss, I've talked about it on the show, they have turned it on at the very end of the game and covered a couple of spreads. Hey, in my favor, I bet on them both times, and I'm jumping off the train because they got lucky twice to cover the spreads that they did on these teams. And to be honest with you, I still really don't even understand how they beat Tulane. I guess it was because of the backup quarterback situation. Actually, I know it was. Tulane played their backup quarterback, and if they'd have played their starter, they would have beat Ole Miss. I'm not buying this Ole Miss team right here, and I'm certainly not buying Alabama here. But if I'm going to pick this game, I'm going to take Alabama to cover the 6.5 points on this one, probably by half a point. And this one was at 7, Mason. So people are betting on Ole Miss for sure.
Right. Yeah. I think that's what worries me, right, about this game. Anytime you're betting with the public, it's a little bit scary because Vegas doesn't tend to lose money, you know. So when I look at this game and I break it down statistically, right, I feel like Ole Miss has a better shot when you just look at efficiency. The issue with that is we only have a 3-game sample size, so a lot of these stats are very fluid right now, and we're just not going to see much of it. Alabama on defense is much better. When I look at this game and break it down, what really stands out to me is that neither defensive line is really that great. You've got 10 sacks from Ole Miss, which is really good for them right now, and 8 sacks for Alabama, which is really good right now. Alabama's given up 12 sacks. Ole Miss maybe a little bit better on the offensive line, only given up 5 so far. But Ole Miss also hasn't faced Texas, so that there's a little bit of a difference there in competition. That's why I say you can only go so far with these numbers with a 3-game sample size. But as we get further in the season, these will become, more and more reliant or reliable, I guess. So when I break this game down, all right, I see an offense in Alabama that's struggling. Okay. And then I see a really good offense with Ole Miss, who's scoring 4th in the country at 52.7 points per game. So that's really, really good as far as when it comes to scoring. But maybe leaves a little bit lacking in the run game so far. Whereas Alabama's been able to stop the run pretty well. They're averaging under 3 yards per attempt. And then with the passing offense, obviously Ole Miss has done a great job with that with Jackson Dart. This is a really good passing defense with Alabama, and the numbers may not suggest it as much, giving up 226.7 yards per game. A lot of that has to do with the offense not sustaining drives. Specifically in that last game, they did not sustain drives, and the defense was just left out there, so they're going to give up more passing yards, right? Naturally, if their offense is able to have more plays, they're going to give up more passing yards. So to me, as far as the spread goes, I kind of want to stay away from it. But I do have a play on the Ole Miss Bama under 55.5. I just think that, obviously we know the struggles that Alabama has had offensively. I think that Jackson Dart's going to have some challenges with this secondary at Alabama. He may have a couple of turnovers. So give me the under 55.5 for this game. And as far as picking on the game, I feel like earlier I felt like Ole Miss would win this game. I'm starting to get that gut feeling towards Alabama. It's I'm kind of torn between my head and my gut here, but I'm going to go ahead and pick Ole Miss to do it. I think they get it done. I think Lane Kiffin gets it done this year in Tuscaloosa, and that the Alabama's got some serious questions after this game. Obviously, if they lose, but yeah, I'm going to stick with my head here, and I'm going to go with Ole Miss to win this game.
Ole Miss picking the Rebels. That's that would be a huge win for Lane Kiffin. That would just be a huge coup for him. He needs a big win, and I know he wants to beat Nick Saban so damn bad he can taste it. So I for his sake, I hope it happens. For my bet's sake, I actually don't care because I didn't bet on that one. But I'm scared, man. Alabama's just been so flimsy to me this year. I'm just scared to bet on them or against them. I don't know. Are they going to get a fire under their ass? I make fun of people all the time. People all the time are like, well, you don't want to play Alabama now. They done lost a game, And my logic is like, So I'm supposed to be more scared of a team after they lose football games than if they win them. That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't subscribe to that thought process. But in this case, it does scare me a little bit because I know how talented Alabama is, but they just cannot get out of their own damn way, dude. Let's go to the big boy. Let's go to the night game. Let's talk about them Buckeyes going to play at Touchdown Jesus.
That's right.
This
Hold on.
is,
I think we skipped Oregon State, Washington
did we?
State. Yep.
Oh, I'm missing. I'm going out of order. Not talking about the Buckeyes. We're talking about the Oregon State Beavers, 3-point favorite at Washington State. Before I
equally
get started,
as important of a game. Equally as important.
Very much important as far as the national championship is concerned.
Yes.
What do you have a pick on this game? Do you have a best bet?
A best bet? I do not.
Okay.
No.
All right.
I did, and then I backed off. Once I saw the numbers.
You got scared.
I got scared. I really like Washington State in this game. I feel like they've been tested more. But when you look at the stats and the breakdown, which I'll get into in just a second, I don't know, man. It's not great.
Yeah. You talking about defensively for Washington State? It's not great.
Yeah, and I feel like, when I break this down, and I'll just go ahead and jump into it. So, the rushing offense for Oregon State is really good. Top 10, 7th in the country in efficiency. 6.32 yards per attempt is excellent. And rushing defense is top 10, right? Scoring defense just outside of that, 11 points per game. That's good for 11th in the country. The scoring offense, 16th, at 41 points per game. And that's happening with a strong rushing attack. So that's really, really good. And you can see they've still been able to get 12 sacks on the season, only allowed 1 sack this year, been pretty good up front on the lines of scrimmage. And yeah, third down efficiency, close to 50%, close to 30% on the opponent's third down efficiency. So numbers wise, Oregon State looks really good, but again, they haven't had the same schedule that Washington State has. So
yeah,
I'm a little unclear as to how to read these numbers right now, but you go over to Washington State, scoring offense has been great, but it's all come from the passing game. They're 99th on rushing offense at only 3.8 yards per attempt. Defensively, they're a little bit below average in pretty much every category. Third down efficiency on offense has been great, over 60%, 4th in the nation. It's really, really good. There are some things that make me want to go Washington State to just, full on win this game. But again, I'm not confident in putting a best bet on this game. I do think that Oregon State ends up winning this game, but I don't want to. I'm not confident enough to bet either way against the spread on this one. Did you have a play on this?
I've got a play-ish. This is my money line pick of the week, folks. Washington State is my money line pick of the week. I'm picking them. They're a home dog. Oregon State's got to go to their place. Look, these teams, in my opinion, I know the numbers are differing a little bit, but they haven't played. No two teams have played the exact same teams this year, and we have small sample sizes. And so while I do like to look at the stats, I also like to watch the game and pick based off of what I like to see. And I think that this is a very even matchup. And what I mean by even is I think these teams share a lot of the same weaknesses and a lot of the same strengths. These are two really good passing offenses. I think they do it in a couple different ways. But overall, the passing game is strong for both of these teams. And the passing defense is not so strong for both of these teams. So I'm looking for a lot of points to be scored here. And really, honestly, an over would probably be a good idea here.
Yeah.
What
We're at 58.5.
58.5. Yeah. Over would probably be the play, but I'm sticking with my money line. I already threw a few bucks down on Washington State on the money line. And that is at plus 125. So you're getting positive money on that. And at a plus 125 number, Vegas is telling you that it's pretty even here. And I don't want to sit here and spend too much time on this game and bore everybody or whatever if you're not watching this game. But I think this is one of the best money line picks of the week, in my opinion. The most
Yeah, I
likely
like
to
it.
hit, the most likely to hit.
Yeah.
So let's keep it moving, Mason. You ready to move on, or you got something else on that one?
Nope, that's all I got on that. I'm ready to talk about the big boy here.
Yep. Well, on that Oregon State, who do you think wins Oregon State? And just before we move on,
man, I'm still torn. I said Oregon State earlier, and then I'm like, but it's a home game for Washington. How much does that really matter, though? I'm going to stick with
their
Oregon
average
State.
attendance is about 35,000, so it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I'm going to stick with Oregon State here on this one and kind of go with my late feeling on it and kind of go with my more recent feeling.
Yep. All right. Now we can go to the big boy. It's the Ohio State Buckeyes at the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. This is a battle of the blue bloods. Been waiting for this one for a while. Not going to lie to you. Sam Hartman faces off against Kyle McCord in the Buckeyes at Touchdown Jesus. Well. I remember a game a few years ago where the University of Georgia went out to Notre Dame, and it was one of the best college football atmospheres that I've seen in a long time. Probably since, there's been games here and there. It was a damn good one. And it was because Notre Dame fans sold all their tickets to the Georgia Bulldogs fans. And it was about 60% Georgia fans in the stadium that day. And they all paid about $1,000 a head to get in that thing. Hopefully Notre Dame's not doing that this year, because I just want to say this right now. I want to get this out there. Notre Dame is a national championship contender for real this year. It's not like the Notre Dame in the past, in my opinion. This is what I'm seeing right now. This is not like Notre Dame of the past, where it's like, oh, yeah, but that schedule and they're independent and, they got to go undefeated to get in. I don't think they have to go undefeated this year. I think they could lose a close game here and they could still make the playoff. Obviously it's going to make it a lot tougher, and they have a difficult schedule. They got to play USC later in the year. So they want to hold on to that, that insurance game in their pocket. But Ohio State is favored in this game by 3 points. And I'll just be honest with you, I just don't see it. What do you see in this game, Mason? Because I'm not seeing it, buddy. I'm on Notre Dame -3 here, or +3 here. How are you feeling about this one?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and put my pick out there first, and then I'll explain it. I'm with you on this one. I think it's Notre Dame +3. I think that's the right side of this in this game. Notre Dame is at home. I don't think this is going to be a 2017 Notre Dame versus Georgia type of atmosphere. I do think that Ohio State fans are going to find ways to get in. It's not going to be all blue and gold, right? But and before I go into this breakdown, you mentioned Notre Dame being able to lose a game, right? If they win this game, they're immediately going to be in my top 5. They will. I had Ohio State in my playoffs. I would change Notre Dame and Ohio State, and obviously, with me picking Notre Dame at this point, I'm obviously leaning more towards that reality, I guess. So, but Notre Dame does still have to play Florida State and Clemson on top of the rest of their schedule,
and USC.
I'm sorry. That's what I meant to say. Is it's not Florida State. It's USC and Clemson that they have left. They don't play Florida State. So they could realistically drop one of those 3 games and still make it. However, they're going to be relying heavily on somebody else to screw up, right? If you have 4 other undefeated conference champions, you're not in at that point. So not with the way these conferences are going right now. There's a contender in every conference. So, it is a challenge for them. I think that they're able to get the win today. if they win all three, they're in whether they lose another game or not. In my opinion, like that. Those are three of the biggest wins of the season if they're able to pull it off. I have a feeling they're going to be able to beat Ohio State. I think they're really going to struggle against USC, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that down the road. But all right, so for this game, you can see Ohio State, their passing offense has been pretty great. Not as great as usual. They're still figuring things out at quarterback with Kyle McCord. He's a young guy. He's kind of getting his feet under him. He's figuring things out. And you really saw that last week when they put up 63 points last week. The rushing offense, Travion Henderson is kind of coming back. Last season, he pretty much played the whole season hurt and wasn't as effective as a result. So this year, he's kind of doing it. He's doing it a lot better than he did last year. That's for sure. So that's leading to a scoring offense of 20th in the country at 40.3 points per game. That's going to go up. I'm pretty confident in saying that that's going to go up as the season goes along. I think they're playing a lot better football, like I mentioned. So scoring defense. This has been the biggest upgrade, right, for Ohio State. It's on the defensive side of the ball, and this is what everybody has been clamoring for. If Ohio State has a top 20 defense, then they're going to win the national championship because their offense is just that good. Their wide receivers are just that good. They just have to have the complementary defense to go along with this high octane offense. Well, so far they're doing it. 6.7 points per game. They ain't played nobody. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you that. That number is going to go up for sure, but that's good for second in the country at this point. Rushing defense, 16th in the country, under 3 yards per carry. That's outstanding. That's a huge turnaround. 7th in pass defense at 140.3 yards per game. That number will go up after this game for sure. So these are all really good stats, right? The rest of them are pretty average. Nothing to really glean from the rest of the stats there. Then we go over to Notre Dame, and similar stats. And I'll kind of save, going into each one individually. I'm gonna get to my take and the reason for my take here. Similar stats, not quite as good as Ohio State, right? But you got to remember, Notre Dame's already played 4 games, right? So they already have another sample size, another point to draw from. So a little bit different there, a little bit of a tougher schedule probably if you were to break it down. But ultimately, what decides this game to me, right? These are 2 complete teams. They got a great offense, great defense. They're both contenders in the national championship. As of right now, at least, I think there's a slight edge to Ohio State's defense at this point, and a slight edge to Notre Dame's offense at this point. So what it really comes down to me, is experience at the quarterback position. And you know where I'm going with this, right? It's Sam Hartman. He's in his 17th year of college football, right? And he comes over to Notre Dame, and it looks like he's played, all of his, realistically his 5 years of college football. It looks like he's played all of them with Notre Dame. I mean, he just fit right in. So I think that his experience is gonna be what wins this game over Kyle McCord's experience. And it's kind of awkward, but we do this all the time. We pin a quarterback versus a quarterback, but it is what it is. I think that Sam Hartman is more efficient against against the Ohio State defense, and I think that ultimately ends up winning them the game. So give me Notre Dame to cover the 3 points and win, and they're my money line pick for the week. I think that's a pretty easy one, but that's what I'm rolling with.
Gotcha. So are you betting on the spread also, or are you just going money line?
I'm going both. So +3 and the money line.
Gotcha. Yeah. So this one is going to come down to quarterback, I do believe. So what do we know about Kyle McCord? Not a whole hell of a lot. It seems to me like the last 2 weeks, Ohio State has found their stride a little bit. I will say that, but this Notre Dame team has started off hitting the ground running since day one this year, and I think the defenses are very comparable. One thing that also concerns me is this Ohio State offensive line. I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting on somebody to put some pressure on this thing, and
Yeah.
I'm interested to see if it's going to fold up or not. There's some players on Ohio State's offensive line that probably don't have any business starting on what we would figure to be a national championship caliber team. Um, is specifically at tackle. Got a transfer player that came in from a really small school and is starting, and it always kind of concerns me a little bit whenever I see that, because these big programs, you shouldn't be going and getting starting offensive linemen from the portal unless they're just a really highly touted guy. And in this case, I wouldn't consider this guy to be that. But I'm interested to see how Ohio State can run the ball. Are they going to be able to run the ball on Notre Dame? I don't know. Um, I am concerned for them about that, and for that reason, I am also taking Notre Dame +3. I'm taking them as a best bet of the week +3. All right, man. Let's keep it moving along. We have got Iowa at Penn State. Iowa at Penn State. Well, I wonder what Cade McNamara thinks of Penn State. Mason, I think you might have a little something for us. Let's see what he thinks about it. Oh, hit play over there, Mason.
Gotcha.
Our level of communication up front and with me, the backs, and really everyone just being on the same page, because these guys are going to come a lot. I mean, there's that was but I mean, we have to be on key with our hots. We got to be on key with our protection. So damn it. I was not expecting that, but yeah, we'll be
Oh man,
not
bless his
hilarious?
heart. Penn State is going to come a lot, and that doesn't sound good for Iowa. That doesn't sound good for Iowa. Look, I'll give you a quick breakdown on this one. One of my favorite sayings, Iowa defense good, water wet, fire hot. They got a good defense, but I heard yesterday that 40% of Iowa's offensive production is not going to be playing in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, this Penn State offense, without looking at any statistics or anything, I know what I saw last week, and it was they kind of struggled. They kind of struggled last week against Illinois, and Illinois is a team that lost a lot to NFL and transfer portal. So, I am a little bit concerned about the offense. Not a lot concerned, because they've got a young quarterback, and this is what you're going to go through when you got a young quarterback. But the best thing Penn State's got for them is they've got a hell of a defense on the other side. And last week they got 5 turnovers, which should have turned into, I mean, you the most it would turn into would be 35 points, right? And it surely didn't do that. They didn't turn their turnovers into points the way they should have. This offense looked a little bit anemic last week, and I'm still waiting on Penn State to be able to run the ball like I thought they'd be able to. I haven't quite seen that yet. Maybe this is the game. But like I said, Iowa has a good defense. I'm staying away from this game. I'm not betting anything on it. But if I had to pick, I'm going to pick Iowa to cover here. And I think they can keep it within 2 touchdowns.
I like that pick.
And with my thought process, before you get going, if Iowa can hold them to within 14, then take the under as well, because Iowa ain't scoring a bunch of points in this game. I can promise you that. And while you do that, I wanted to look up the Iowa team total. So they didn't have them out yet when I looked the other day, but that was my go-to in this game. I was like, man, if they have like an Iowa first half, like 3-point total,
Yeah.
I'm taking under. Like, they're not
Wow.
going to score. They're not going to score, dude. Like, I don't think Iowa scores in the first half. I really don't.
I like that. I really like that a lot. And this maybe the play on this is under in general. I'm not sure exactly what that number is sitting at right now, but that may be a play there if I could pull it up. Looks like 40 points. That's pretty low already.
That's lower than an NFL game.
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can. Like, if this is the limbo, I don't know if I can go that low, man. Like,
I don't know if I'd
that's
go
a
that
little
low
crazy.
either.
It's a little
But-
crazy. All right, let's get into the breakdown here, though. So looking at this game, I immediately wanted to actually make this a best bet and go, and pick Iowa to cover the 14.5. I do think Penn State's going to win the game, but kind of same points that you mentioned there. Drew Aller kind of struggled a little bit with Illinois, and I think he's really developing right now. So now's the time to kind of fade their offense a little bit, in my opinion. Iowa's kind of the defense to do that. If you made me pick, I guess I would still lean that way. But the fact that their offense isn't going to be able to score pretty much, like you mentioned, almost half their offense is going to be gone. So I'm not gonna pick on this one. I do think Penn State wins the game. At this point, I guess I would still say Iowa covers, but this is one I'm definitely going to watch just to see if Drew Aller is truly the best quarterback in the Big Ten, right? Him and McCarthy are kind of 1 and 2 right now, 1A, 1B. They both had kind of bad weeks last week. So I'm anxious to see it for that matchup. But when you look at Iowa, they're below average in offensive categories. Shocker, right? 28.3 points per game. I think that's above the total that we need for Ferentz. So, maybe that's all right.
He's over the watermark right now, Mason.
That's
keep
right.
you updated.
That's right. Well, we'll keep this one. We'll keep this one circled, right? But then on the defensive side of the ball, they've been pretty good. Not quite as good as I thought when you look at their efficiency against the run. 3.52 yards per attempt is 55th in the country. Pass defense is 33rd. They're usually not as great against the pass anyways. And then only 3 sacks so far. And I thought that would be a little bit higher without watching every game this season for them. But they're a very disciplined team. In penalties, they're first. They're only averaging 18.3 yards per game in penalties, and their turnover margin is neutral. It's 0. So when I look at that, this is honestly, their metrics wise, they're still a little bit below average. So they may be getting away with a lot at this point in the season. Still early in, but then you go over to Penn State, scoring offense is 14th, but they're 50th in rushing efficiency and then passing offense, which is just above middle of the pack. So it's like, man, where's this 14th coming from? They must be super efficient in the red zone, and that may be a stat that I add down the road. But 43.9% on third down. That's right in the middle of the pack. They do have 10 sacks already, so that's pretty good for the defensive side of the ball to have 10 sacks at this point. And then going over to that defense, 13th in scoring defense. Again, that's really good. This is a balanced team, right? 14 and 13. This is a good balanced program. And then 40th and 22nd. Those are both, slightly above average metrics there for rushing defense and passing defense. And then opponent third down conversion is at 30%. So that's a really good stat to be at, and only giving up 2 sacks on the year so far. I'm still really high on Penn State. I think they've got all the pieces to make it to the playoff. It's just a matter of can Drew Aller take that next step, right? We saw him struggle a little bit last week. I think that he can be the best quarterback in the Big Ten. We just have to see it. We have to see it against good defenses. Iowa's a really good defense. It'll be a really strong statement for him if he's able to go out there and throw for 300 yards, maybe 3 touchdowns or something like that. It's going to be a really strong statement for him if he's able to do that. I do think he struggles early, finds his footing. And the second half stats look much better than the first half stats. But give me Penn State to win and Iowa State to cover. I'm not betting it, but that's my pick for this week for Iowa at Penn State.
Yeah. I just I got to see some offense from Iowa before I can pick them to do anything. I wish they'd go on and get an offense. That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
That would be really good if they do that. All right, let's keep it moving, and let's just kind of throw a little something in here at the end. For my boy Brett. Brett, you're my boy, Brett. The Auburn Tigers go on the road to Texas A&M. I ain't got a bunch of stats and stuff like that on this game because stats are good, and I got a feeling these stats are about to change. Everybody's stats are about to go. Their defensive stats are going to go through the roof this week. Everybody's playing real competition. People ain't playing cupcakes this week. This is a lot of conference play going on. I think these numbers are going to come back to earth defensively, and I think offensively they're going to increase. And the real offensive juggernauts are going to make themselves known in week 4. Texas A&M has a real deal offense. Okay, they're very good. They're not as good at rushing as what they were, but Connor Wegman is a prolific passer. Okay, and they do have a dynamic wide receiver core. The defense, DJ Dirk has just got to figure this defense out, man. And I think they're going to be in good shape. I took, for my betting purposes, I actually put money on Texas A&M, but I got them at 7.5. I'll still take the 8 for the show. I'm doing this for the show. But my money was on Texas A&M minus 7.5. Auburn is just not there yet. Hugh Freeze has been talking this week and talking about the challenges that are going to be presented to this Auburn team. Auburn's strength of their team is their secondary. And I think that bodes pretty decent for Auburn in this situation, but I think Texas A&M is going to be able to run the ball on them. And the defensive line is a bit of a question for Auburn at this moment. And this offense is not very good. This is not a good Auburn offense here. Went out to Cal, scored 14 points. Cal's not some kind of stud defense. So Auburn is going through growing pains, just like you would expect them to this year. If they can figure out a way to win this will absolutely turn the SEC West completely on its head. I mean, it will ensure it will go a long way in ensuring LSU is the representative in Atlanta. But if Texas A&M can win right here, watch out, because they'll have momentum, and I do believe in this offense. If the defense can be serviceable, then this is the opposite of what we've seen out of Texas A&M. So that's why my mind does feel like there is improvement in the right direction. And then it was like plugging one hole in the boat with your finger, and then all of a sudden you find another one. But I think they're going to be able to get it together a little bit on defense, and I believe they'll be able to cover the spread and take care of business against the Auburn Tigers. You got any thoughts on that game?
I agree 100%. I actually had this at Texas A&M minus 7.5 for purposes of this show. At the time of recording, I will change my pick to Texas A&M to cover at minus 8. Again, for much the same reasons that you mentioned. I think Texas A&M is ahead of Auburn when it comes to the offensive side of the ball right now. And I think Auburn is about a year away from being pretty dang good, honestly. that being said, I think that Texas A&M is going to be able to win by more than 8. I'm also taking a second play on this game, and I'm going to take the under 51.5.
Is this one of your picks of the week? Both of these are picks of the
Both
week
of
right
these
here?
are picks of the weeks. Yep.
Cool.
So I'm taking Texas A&M and Auburn under 51.5. And for much the same reasons, I think this could easily be a 27-17 type game. And kind of unfold that way. And I just don't see. I'm not confident in picking Texas A&M to score 40 points yet. So until I see that in SEC play, at least, until I see that, I'm pretty confident in picking the under. And I don't think that Auburn's going to be able to put up more than 20 against Texas A&M. So give me that under 51.5. I'm actually more confident in that play than Texas A&M covering the 8 points, but we'll see. I feel pretty confident in the 51.5. So give me both of those picks for week 4.
Awesome. All right. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to conclude our key matchups of the week. And real quick, without breaking every single game down, we're going to go through. I don't know what else you got on your list, Mason. I do have a few others here that I'm going to throw out there for the record and for our between the lines. There it is. Between the lines, baby. That's the segment. On this prediction show, we're going to give you it might be a 6-pack, it might be a weird little 8-pack. We don't know. We don't know how many games we're picking. We just pick the ones that we feel the best about. And it doesn't have to be Power 5. It doesn't have to be anything like that. What other picks do you got on the board, Mason? You got yours ready, and I'm gonna jot yours down as we go here.
Yeah, sure. Just to be sure, so we're 21-20 on the year, right? Or excuse me,
Yeah,
20
let's break that down.
21.
Let's break that down real quick. You're right. I'm sorry. I completely forgot about that.
I just don't want to be one of those shows that just constantly throws them out there and we don't have any accountability.
Absolutely. And I want everybody to know this is, hey, we're doing this on here to document all this stuff. We're trying to get winning money, and if you can go even, you're not losing. And we want to try to stay even or above. Right now, we're at 20-21 combined for the 2023 season on picks against the spread. Mason started off hot. Week 1, Mason was 5-2. I was 3-3. Week 2, Mason was 4-2. I was 3-3. And week 3, Mason was 2-7, and I was 3-4. So that puts me at 9-10 for the year, and Mason for 11-11 at an even 500. And 20-21 as a crew for the year. Yeah, I want to keep up with that for sure.
So we're basically like two guys who go to the casino, right? And we got a certain amount we want to spend. We might have lost a little bit of money here or there, but at the end of the day, it's about having fun, right? That's the message we come home to our wives, like, yeah, we didn't win any money, but we had a good time, That's how I feel right now. Somebody who went to the casino, got some free drinks, sweated out some picks and had a good time at the end of the day. But but I do want to turn this around. I think that we learned a lot. We took some lumps. I got a little bit too trigger happy. I was feeling myself. I was up. I guess I was +5 before last week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So
correct.
And I just got pulled right back down to earth, and that happens.
We picked too many favorites last week. There was too many favorites. The odds were that there was going to be a couple of them that struggled, and the way that it worked out is that pretty much damn near all of them struggled, huh?
Yeah, absolutely right. But all right, without further ado, let me break down the rest of my picks. So Oklahoma is traveling to Cincinnati at 12:05. Oklahoma is favored by 14 points, and I'm going to pick them to cover that 14 points.
Is it at 14 now? It was at 14 and a hook.
It was. I had it at 14 and a hook, but I'm changing it now to 14. I mean, I'll take it.
I bet 14 and a hook. I'm with you on that one, Mason. Keep going.
Okay.
What else you got?
All right, and then if you go down just one more game there, you got Kentucky at Vanderbilt. It's a 13.5-point spread in favor of Kentucky. I'm going to stay away from that number, and I'm actually going to take the under 50 in this game.
Kentucky, Vandy, under 50, huh?
That's right.
All right. And that concludes your picks for the week?
I've got one more. Let me get to it. And then we can go back over all of our picks on the week just to make sure we got everything right. So at 7:05, you've got Arkansas traveling to LSU. LSU is a 17.5-point favorite, and I just think that's too low. I'm gonna pick LSU to cover that. And then I've got one more play for, let's see what time. This is a 8:05 p.m. game, East Coast time. So this is North Carolina traveling to Pittsburgh, and North Carolina is a 7-point favorite. I actually had it at 7.5. So if they're gonna give me 7 points, I will take it. Give me North Carolina to cover 7 points. I just think that's way too low after Pittsburgh just lost to West Virginia. So I feel really confident in that one. That's like definitely circle that one. I feel
North
really
Carolina
good about it.
By how much?
7.
-7. Okay.
And that's all I got for you. Like I said, we'll just go back through and kind of repeat all of our picks here whenever you get yours out.
Yeah, and what I've been doing right here is saving it onto a banner. So I can put the banner up at the end of this show,
Okay.
and we'll be able to look back and reference the video and see it printed right there on the screen. So I'm with you on the Oklahoma thing, man. I like Oklahoma this year, and I've read something. Oklahoma's got a bunch of players coming back this week. Oklahoma gets very healthy this week. Big time players on the defense and the offense coming back. Really, really like Oklahoma to cover as you say, 14. I bet it at 14.5.
Yeah.
This is a home game for Cincinnati. The only thing I worry about, this is the first home game for Cincinnati since joining the Big 12. This is going to be a raucous environment for all Cincinnati games are concerned. This one is going to be. They love their Cincinnati Bearcat football. Okay, and them playing at home as a Big 12 team, this is a very big deal. So with all that being said, it's not going to be too big of a deal for Oklahoma. This Oklahoma is full of guys that have played in big games, and if you to go to Oklahoma is to play in big games, and I think they're going to be just fine. And I feel even better with the 14 instead of the 14 and a hook. And I'm actually going to change that on mine real quick so that we're not looking back and counting something against me that we don't need to be. One other pick that I've got this week that I want to throw out there is Washington -21 versus Cal. They're going on the road to Cal. Look, I'm riding the Washington train, folks. They were a playoff pick for me, and I didn't see a ton of people. I know a lot of people wanted to pull the trigger on Washington, but didn't want to look like an idiot on the internet and things. But my name is Mark, and I'm not scared to look like an idiot. Washington -21. So I'm riding this wave, man. I'm gonna ride it until I get thrown into the reef or whatever ends up happening to me. Washington's really freaking good. Newsflash. Now I will say this: Washington ended up losing their starting center for the year.
Mm-hmm.
This is obviously not what you're looking for. They have a redshirt freshman coming into play, so it is somebody that's at least been in the system a year. And they have another freshman behind him that's going to rotate in and out. So as needed, centers don't rotate a ton, but his backup is a true freshman. So as I've said all year, Washington, and I think a lot of teams this year, there's not a lot of depth. Okay. You got a frontline set of guys that are really, really good. And then the next step is a step down. So Washington has got to stay healthy to continue doing what they're doing. And then a number that also ticked down for me, and let me actually correct it on here because I just checked it. I'm taking USC minus 34.5. They're playing Arizona State. Arizona State was shut out last week by I can't even remember who. It was a really shitty team, man.
Yeah.
And I'm just Arizona State's got Jaden Rashada playing quarterback. Unless he got hurt or something, it seemed like he was playing all right at the beginning of the year, but man, that was like really embarrassing for them last week, and I'm just not here for it. I think USC can beat them 56-7 or something
Yeah.
like that. I really
Easily.
truly feel that way. I don't fully understand why the total's at 35. But that is going to conclude my picks for the week. Let's go ahead and pop these up on the screen here. My picks of the week: FSU -2, Oklahoma -14, Texas A&M -7, UCLA plus 4.5, Oregon -21, Notre Dame. That's supposed to be +3. So let's go ahead and fix that before we confuse ourselves. We don't want to confuse ourselves. Notre Dame +3, Washington -21, USC 34.5, and Moneyline Washington State, which is at +125. Mason's picks of the week: Oregon -21, and that's supposed to be +2. Let's go ahead and fix that. I'm gonna mess this up. I'm gonna mess this up if I don't fix this.
We're picking against the favorites this week since we had a bad.
It seems that way, doesn't it, Mason?
You know, a little bit, at least a little bit. We're gonna get a little bit of a spray here.
Nice balance. Nice balance.
Yeah, exactly.
Ole Miss Bama under 55.5. Notre Dame +3. Texas A&M -8. Auburn at A&M under 51.5. Oklahoma -14. Kentucky Vandy under 50. LSU -17.5. NC -7. And then Moneyline Notre Dame. I like it. Those are some good picks. Hey, and you know what I like more than anything? I like you people that are watching the video right now. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. You don't understand how much fun that we're having doing this. This isn't our job. We don't make any money doing this. We're doing this for fun and because we love college football. And all we really want is for you folks to come join us on the weekends and let's do the college football thing. It's a nice release from life. And if college football is a vice for you, then you've got a pretty good vice and a pretty good grip on life as far as I'm concerned. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you, Mason, for coming and joining us. And we will see you on Saturday. And for all you folks out there, thank you so much for tuning in. God bless and have a great night.
Thanks. Have a good day.